How are you? Good. Yourself? Good. How are you, Frank?
Appreciate it. Sorry.
Hey, if you can do it, you told me.
The chair will call the May 2nd, 2017 meeting of the City Council to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, if you'd please call the roll.
Alderman Redpath.
Here.
Alderman Senor.
Present.
Alderman Turner.
Here.
Alderman Fulgenzi.
Here.
Alderman Proctor.
Here.
Alderman DeCenzo.
Here.
Alderman McBenamin.
Here.
Alderman Tylen.
Here.
Alderman Dunlin.
Here.
Alderman Hanauer.
Here.
Mayor Langfelder.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, a quorum is present.
Chair will entertain a motion to allow Alderman Tylen to participate by
Second.
mobile. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, we do have a presentation to Nancy Huntley, who is, I think, is retiring Friday. Is that correct? You haven't rescinded your resignation? So if you'd like to come up. We'd like to. So as you know, most people know Nancy Huntley. She's been around how many years?
Almost 40.
40 years, and 24 years as the library director, and actually appointed by my father. And my mother's in the audience, so she came for this special recognition. Isn't that nice?
That's very nice. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. Or actually to critique me. I'm not sure which.
Maybe a little bit of both.
That's right. But really, we appreciate all you've done for the city of Springfield and Lincoln Library and bringing it to the 21st century. So we have a proclamation, and it reads, whereas the saying goes, you can borrow a book, but you get to keep the ideas, is a testament to the impact Lincoln Library Director Nancy Huntley has had on the Springfield community. And whereas Nancy, a native from Connecticut, and holding a history degree from Trinity College and a master's degree in library science from Drexel University, walked into Lincoln Library in June 1978 as the head of circulation and patron services. And whereas Nancy was made assistant director of Lincoln Library in 1985 and beat out 31 other applicants in a nationwide search to be named director of Lincoln Library in 1993, under former Mayor Ozzie Langfelder, a position she has held ever since. And whereas librarians are often described as quiet, shy, reserved, and always with their hair in a bun, but Nancy broke those stereotypes as a witty, warm-hearted, fashionable, and passionate individual who deeply cared about her profession, her staff, and Lincoln Library. And whereas Lincoln Library's first computer arrived the day before Nancy started 39 years ago, and she has seen the evolution of services. When she departs, she will have created a partnership with School District 186 for e-cards to be available to all students, including those who reside within the pockets of the city, to access the library's entire e-resources for free. And whereas Lincoln Library has gone from a place with 1970s red carpeting, card catalogs, periodicals, books, and typewriters to a place that Nancy helped transform, where people can check out CDs, DVDs, and video games, a virtual destination that introduces Hoopla and Rosetta Stone to residents, programming including pop-up libraries, and a remodel that showcases a teen zone, charging stations, a computer lab, and a brand new carpeting in 2017. And whereas Nancy is leaving Lincoln Library after nearly 4 decades for service under myself, including 24 years as director, as Ernest Hemingway said, there is no friend as loyal as a book. And at the city of Springfield, we say there is no librarian as dedicated as Nancy Huntley. Now therefore, I, James O. Langfelder, Mayor of the city of Springfield, and the City Council do hereby proclaim that Friday, May 5th, 2017 shall be Nancy Huntley Day in the city of Springfield and call upon all citizens to formally recognize her years of dedication by reading a book or reading to a child in her honor. So thank you for all you've done.
Well, the mayor started something dangerous, allowing me to say a few words, but they will be few because I can barely get through them without tearing up. So this whole week, I've been trying to wear mascara every day to remind myself not to cry, but it's not always working. So I do appreciate the mayor, Mayor Langfelder, both Mayor Langfelders, the first Mayor Langfelder for appointing me to this position, and for the current Mayor Langfelder for retaining me. It's been a joy and an honor to serve the citizens of Springfield for this many years. I like to say I was a child when I started of 12, but of course I was a bit older, and it is time now to pass the torch on to a new generation. And we have some wonderful, wonderful new young librarians working at the library, and I know they will do a good job for the city and for all of you. So with that, I'm going to stop, but thank you so much again for everything.
So I believe she'll be at the library Friday, so if you'd like to say final goodbyes just temporarily, because she'll be active, I'm sure, in the community, please do so at the library. Next, I'd like to recognize Adina Rivas. Is Adina here? If you'd like to come up, Adina. Adina is our recycling coordinator. She can give you the official title, but she's done a fabulous job with the Earth Awareness project. If you had a chance to go down to the old state capitol, I think it was last Saturday or 2 Saturdays ago.
Yeah.
And she did a great job resurrecting the event. It's always carried on, but not to that magnitude. But there's probably 40 exhibitors, and it was great participation throughout our community and city departments as well. But I'd like to recognize Adina Rivas, and if you'd like to say anything about that project or anything with regards to your area, we'd appreciate it.
What is the official title? Community Programs Coordinator for Public Works, specific to waste and recycling, like our titles. But no, it was actually a great venue this year at the Old State Capitol. So I guess in history, it's kind of moved around, the Earth Fair. So it's never really had like a home where people every year, they know that's where to come. So it worked out this year. Saw a lot of you guys out there, including Mayor and Senor. I think I saw a couple other faces, but it was great. We had over 50 exhibitors, which was amazing, music, workshops, and there was a ton of people actually that came downtown because there were other events that were happening. So we actually did a lot of cross kind of getting together and getting the word out there. I know Local First, they had a shred event, Habitat for Humanity, they kind of all part of that. You had a big, huge march. You had Walk a Mile in Our Shoes. I don't know if any of you guys did that. So that all works together. So hopefully we can do that for next year and then keep it at the Old State Capitol. So it was a big event. Hopefully keep it growing, get it bigger every year. It's a city's event, so it's for all of us.
Well, thank you for raising the level of awareness. Any other comments or questions?
I think it worked out real well for us because we had a ward cleanup that day. So appreciate your work and hope that there's anything we can do to help you out. You know, we're open to it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Well done. Next is Chief Barry Helmarks. He wanted to hold off for the really great news, but I wanted him to give a presentation. He's done great work with regards to upgrading the ratings of the Springfield Fire Department. So I asked him to give a presentation with regards to that and the good efforts that they put forward.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, you all know me, but I'd like to introduce you to Deputy Chief Bassett here. He was a mastermind, you know, I mean, he really is. And the great thing about it is getting people that work for you that are smarter than you, and that's definitely the case. I gave you the report, and I also, you have the PowerPoint in front of you. And what we've done, we were a Class 3. We have increased the class, which is better. We went to a Class 2. It's it's a great thing for us, and we'll get to it a little bit later. And the most important part here is, you know, we did this without spending any money. I mean, we didn't build new houses, we didn't hire more people than we had. We just worked extremely hard at it. You know, and we had some things that helped us too. They changed the grade a little bit, and I'll get to that a little bit later. But what it did is it looked at fire departments like we like to be looked at. It wasn't so much exactly what we had, but it's what we could do, and how we responded to calls, and how we handled those calls in the city. And it says that there. And every member did contribute, all the 3 divisions, and everyone on shift, fire safety division, of course, public ed. I mean, it was a truly combined effort. Secretaries, staff, everybody really contributed towards this. Let me see if I can make this work. Oh, boy. Come on, Mike. What am I doing here?
Chief, is it on?
I used to be the tech guy, too.
rating.
Ah,
We'd have a 1 rating if you knew how to do presentation.
I'm gonna get to that. That's what I was pushing. Okay.
One of these days, we're gonna come into the 20th century.
Do it from back there.
Need batteries.
Batteries. Okay, I'm not gonna read all this stuff, I know you're rushing for time, but what I wanna talk about is Insurance Services Office. That's who grades us. And they come in and look at how we suppress fires in our community. And they give us a public protection classification rating. And then next one, please, Mike. And what is it? It's a joint effort. It's us, of course, Sangamon County Dispatch, City of Arlington Power, and Curtin Gardner Water. And how it breaks down is 100-point scale, 10 points go to dispatch, 40% is our water supply and distribution, and 50 of the points are for the fire department. That's how it's broken down between the different things. Well, I'll get together next one, Mike, please. And you can see the grading scale there, the points. Just a quick little thing there. And what they do is they give us a fire suppression rating schedule. That is how they grade us. And like I told you before, it's the fire department, emergency communications, water supply, and the community risk reduction. That was something they added. It's some bonus points about what you do in the community. Let's go to the next one, Mike. And what you got to learn here is that I'm not going to go through all this, but the very bottom sentence, the most significant benefit of the PCC program is effect on losses. And that's what they look at when they grade you and do the PCC, is they look at your propensity to have losses at fires. And the lower your rating, the better your rating, you have less losses. Let's go to the next one. Okay, I know it's kind of small. You look at our 2013 versus 2017. They were here in 2013. You look down that list, and in 2013, we had 72.55 points. Okay, we were a class 3, and barely a class 3 by 2 points. This year, 89.46. We're 0.54 points away from a class 1. Now, the class 2 is important. It puts us in the top 3% of the fire departments that are graded nationwide. We're gonna look at this class 1. Okay, we've resubmitted, I get to that later, but we have resubmitted to ISO. We looked at their grading, and we saw where maybe we didn't get all the points we could get. We resubmitted to them. We feel fairly confident that we're gonna be there. If we can make it class 1, we will be in the top 0.5% of fire departments nationwide that are graded by ISO. I can't tell you how proud we are as a fire department and the benefits it does for the community. Let's go to the next one, Mike, please. And here's kind of where we picked up. Here's emergency reporting. This is 911. They gained a 1.18 points out of 10. That's a great point, but most of that was done with technology, the voice over IP. They explained they could have, but it helps. Every little hair, every little tenth, every little hundredth makes a difference. Community risk reduction. This is the extra 5.5 bonus points that were received. You can turn back to 2017. You'll see the extra on the bottom there on our grading system. This has to do with our fire safety division. Of getting out, fire prevention, fire safety, arson investigations, inspecting, and enforcing the code in Springfield. These are great, these are bonus points. If you look at the grading thing, report which I handed to you, these are flat points that come right on to us as compared to a lot of the different things. When you look through it, you'll see there's maybe 6 to 8 items that make up to get to 5 points, to 5 total points. Very important for us. We got 4.7 out of 5.5. It's an amazing job done by our public education officer, our fire safety people, and our guys on shift too. I'm very proud of them. Training. As you can see, we had 55.3% in 2013. We got to 85% of available points. That was our training division. You guys remember from the budget, Alderman, you weren't here, but about the 69,000 hours that we documented in training over in 1 year. It's about that every year, 69,000. Well, how we got better is we worked harder on documenting what we do. It's all about documentation. We document what we do. That's what really helped us. Deployment analysis. As I spoke earlier, it was more, if you had an engine house, they drew a 1.5-mile polygon around it. If you had a truck company, they drew a 2.5-mile polygon around it on built-upon area. This, as it says down in here, they let us use an alternate method. We were able to, Chief Bassett, instrumental on this, it was pivot tables. We pulled all our times from CAD and followed NFPA, was it 1710, about our response times. First engine there in 5 minutes and 20 seconds, and that counts our turnout. What was it, Jeff, 2 engines in a truck? 8 minutes.
8 minutes plus the 80 seconds.
8 minutes plus the 80 seconds, yeah. I mean, so we can prove all those times, and you can see the difference. 2.26 out of 4 was 56% of those points. This time we got 94%. And about what we do, I'll get back to that. They let us have 10 points for that. That's important. Kind of help fire departments like us. Okay, next one, Mike. Here's what it does. We get the good PPC rating in Springfield. Everybody enjoys that. And right at the bottom in bold, assuming all factors are equal, the price of property insurance in the community with a good PPC is lower than a community with a poor PPC. Okay, residential, it's up in the air. Talk to your insurance agent. I always tell you when you redo your insurance, tell them that where we're at. Might save you a few dollars. But we know that it saves on commercial business. Every point saves on commercial business. We've been told 3%. It's really a tough information to find. I'd recommend everybody do that. You know, I expect us, I hope for us to get the next level. Be one better. It's really going to make a huge difference. Then summary. You know, I've been talking about the whole time. We went 72.55 to 89.46. I mean, it's been a great effort. 23%, over 23% improvement. And most of that, the water department was great. They helped us out, of course, Current. Everybody helped in and added a little bit. This was a lot of work done by us. And like I said, we've resubmitted for the Class 1. We feel very confident that will be a huge feather in our cap. We'll be top 0.5% of fire departments graded in the country. And of course, I'm going to thank everybody. My guys and my men and women, fabulous job, worked their butts off. I mean, I showed you in the budget how we decreased our turnout times by 16 seconds. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it's 25%. Those things made a difference getting to this rating. Everybody in the fire department worked extremely hard, and we're extremely proud of this. That's why we're going to try to get that last 0.54. That's it. Any questions, please?
Alderman Donlin and McMiniman.
Well, Chief, congratulations. This is a big deal for the city, and I know
It's a huge
something
deal.
you and the department have worked hard on, and this is wonderful. I think, I guess what I heard you say is the message, more or less, to the business owners in particular in the community is make sure you pick up the phone and call your
Absolutely. When your insurance comes
agent.
due, tell them what we're doing. It could make a difference.
Chief, and it goes from Class 3 to Class 2. Do you think that, one of the concerns that has been brought forward during the budget process is new vehicles for the fire department, new engines in particular, and the budget was not generous to that effort. So do you think that if we were able to do something to improve that situation, that it would aid in the Class 1 potentially in the future? Or
It would
at
keep
least
us.
maintain?
It would maintain. It would keep us there. I mean, as long as we keep doing business like we're doing business right now. I know that's pretty late to say it like that, but that's it. I think we can stay here. I mean, we've learned a lot of lessons. Jeff is incredible, smart guy. I mean, we kind of figured this out, what we need to do, and we've set a plan. They won't be back for 4 years. We've set a plan in the meantime for the next 4 years how to achieve some more of these partial points that we were lacking this time to stay there. I mean, I think it's really important for the community. It's important for the fire department, least of all. I mean, this is a huge pride thing for us.
So that investment in vehicles in particular, not only is good for morale, it's.
Absolutely.
Things are obvious, I know, good for morale, it's good planning, but it's also could benefit the property owners in the community,
Yeah, they're going
from an insurance standpoint.
Yeah, it could.
Thank you.
Chief,
Alderman?
congratulations, and as you pointed out, it's important to set high standards and set goals, and evidently you've done that and achieved goals. My question is, we're in the Class 2, which puts us in the top 3% of rated fire departments.
Mhm.
When we were Class 3, in what percent of rated fire departments were we as a Class 3?
Oh, I don't know. Class 3 is still pretty good, but I don't know, Jeff, do you have it maybe? You know, I think you got a report there, Alderman. Open up that where it says Public Protection Classification Report. And I think it's on page 6 there, you'll see a chart. That kind of shows how the departments fell out across the country. I mean, their grading was there. So I guess there's about 46,000, a hair over 46,000 departments that were graded. So I guess we could take the 3,400 plus the 1,300 plus the 241 and do that division. I mean, I don't know.
Looks like about 9%, just quick math there, but
Yeah.
thank you.
Alderman Hanar?
Yes.
Chief, first of all, congratulations and great job to the whole department. That's tremendous what you guys have done, and I really appreciate it. On page 10 of the big report.
Sure.
Under alarm, what's alarm processing? They didn't give us any credit.
Well,
and
that's
I
what
would think we'd get
that's
at least
what.
some credit. I mean,
Well, you know, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but that came from 911, and we saw that when this report came back. They have to process the alarm in when, Jeff? How
They
quickly?
have to answer the phone within 15 seconds, like 90% of the time. They have to process the alarm 60 seconds, like 90% of the time.
we got a 0. I mean,
It's not,
that's amazing.
we did that calculation. We could come up with those numbers out of our reporting system,
Right.
out of the CAD system, and that's one of the things we saw. And we have
Seems odd that we didn't get
resubmitted.
partial credit or
Yeah, well,
something.
exactly. Those numbers weren't supplied by, I'm going to throw 911 under the bus, but they didn't, I am though. They didn't supply those numbers. We got them, and that's one of the things that
Okay.
we put back
So our
in.
score's actually higher than,
Yes, that's why I think
That's
we're
great.
in really great shape. And there's a couple places in the training that we weren't clear on exactly what they were asking us. I mean, you go back to page, and oh God, where is it? Credit for training. Classes for officers, we were short there, and then we realized that we have 7 more guys who are classified as an officer. I mean, not in our rank, but in their education and certificates. So we're gonna pick up a little bit there. We had some misinformation, but we've scoured this. There's about 5 or 6 items in there that we looked at and said, you know, we can do better. I mean, you know, we looked at our stuff, and that's what we resubmitted.
This is great, thank you, and good job.
Any other questions or comments? Well, congratulations
Oh,
again.
yeah.
When
Thanks, Chief.
Chief, one of his goals was to make it Class 2, so we appreciate his department's great efforts and look forward to new improvements.
We're gonna get there.
Thanks,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's great.
Chair will entertain a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the April 18th, 2017 City Council meeting and approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to incorporate the pre-council first reading of ordinances into the record of this city council meeting.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Chair will entertain a motion to incorporate the pre-council reading of the consent agenda into the record of this city council meeting.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to place the consent agenda on final passage.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, please
Yep.
place 2017-186. It's a study regarding Lake 2 on the debate agenda for the purposes of further discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
What was the motion? I didn't hear it.
To place agenda item 2017-186 on debate agenda for purposes of additional discussion
So you're just moving it to the debate agenda?
from consent.
All right.
Is there a second to that?
It doesn't need a
Okay.
second motion.
Oh, that's
Mayor.
right. Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, with the exception of 2017-186 of the consent agenda, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. The voting is now open.
Alderman Tylen, how do you vote? Aye. Thank you.
And the consent agenda passes 10 voting yes, none voting no. Agenda numbers 2015-121, 2015-371, 2016-328, 2016-450, 2017-016, 2017-041, 2017-071, 2017-101, 2017-102, 2017-103, and 2017-152, and 2017-177 remain tabled or in committee. 2017-186, an ordinance approving a standard agreement for professional services with Crawford Murphy and Tilley, Inc., in the amount of $71,440 for engineering services related to a redesign of Hunter Lake for the Office of Public Utilities.
Move for passage.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for passage. Any discussion?
Discussion, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman McMenna?
Doug, Ted, you're back, so that's good. The purpose of this is to have some discussion and to obtain some additional information. I called Ted earlier today, and at the time I think at that time, possibly not available for tonight's meeting, so it's great that you're here. And so I've discussed the nature of the questions already with Doug, and so I'm just going to go through these, and this may take 5 or 10 minutes.
Oh, that's right.
So this particular study here is a cost study on certain features of what may become the second lake. And this cost study focuses on the issue of a reconfigured Lake 2, different footprint for Lake 2, and the best practice management for runoff from principally farmland into the second lake, and how we're going to deal with the goal of avoiding sediment buildup of including phosphorus in the bottom of Lake 2. So we've got a AMAC recommended additional study of this. Is that correct? Because we've got a reconfigured lake and we're trying to avoid sediment buildup and runoff issues from farm ground in major part.
And actually, too, is that we received comments last fall, actually asking us to look at a different size of the lake. So we're also that was one of the options, the alternates that we need to address with this permitting process. So AMIC, of course, then said, we need to follow through with this and come up with how this is going to work.
Right, to add to that, right now we're in the alternate study phase. We're throwing out alternates, trying to see what floats, what's not. So this is one of the alternates that we have to study and give a cost for and find out if it's a viable alternate or not.
And this revised footprint for the second lake, it involves basically the same watershed. The same streams are coming into, and creeks are coming into the second lake, but the size of the second lake is reduced with this revised footprint. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And roughly, what's the reduced volume of water, of the holding potential of the reconfigured Lake 2 as compared to what we were looking at a year ago?
About 18%, 19% less.
18 or 19%. And is that percent given to us in any kind of technical memoranda so far, or information from AMAC?
Not yet. It's at the core, sitting with the core right now. Part of that is the alternate studies is sitting at the core.
So that 18%, where did that number come from?
We did have AMIC do a study on what will meet our needs. And they came up with approximately 10.8 million gallons a day. With a little bit of safety factor, they use 12 million gallons a day need in an 18-month drought. So they did some calculations, determined what volume of water is needed to meet that need. And this is what they came up with at that elevation.
So this volume of water in the reconfigured Lake 2 is 18% less than the volume of water that would have been held in the Lake 2 that we were considering when this process started roughly 2 years ago?
Correct.
And where would that 18% be found in a document at this point in time?
AMIC has that in one of their basis for water need documents that is being reviewed by the Corps.
Do you have that document?
Yeah, the draft copy is.
And that's called the Phase 1 draft document? Is that?
It's part of Phase 1, yes.
Okay, and you've got that document?
A draft copy that the Corps has not approved yet, yes.
Okay, and so AMAC's got a copy of that document, and you've got a copy of that document. Are you willing to share that document with the city council members?
As soon as the Corps approves it, yes. We're vetting through some issues with the Corps and seeing, we want to make sure it's right. We don't want to put out any false information. And so once we get that, we will share that with you. We'll put it on the website.
Well, do you think the report's got false information?
No, we want to make sure. We want to make sure that all our calculations are correct, all our assumptions are correct.
So
It's something that the Army Corps has to approve,
Right.
so
You work for the city council, Ted, and you've got a copy of that document. And AMAC, that we're paying $1 million for, they've got a copy of the document. And the Corps of Engineers got a copy of that document. And so I'm going to ask again, will you give a copy of that document to the members of the city council?
I can. You know, it's draft form. I'm going to warn you. It's draft
Understood.
form.
You can put draft on every page of it.
It's
That's
draft.
fine.
We want to make sure we got everything right. Make sure all our numbers are correct.
Okay, well, I hope you will make that available to the members of the city council. Because we don't know when the Corps might ultimately answer or make comments, and when we get those comments, we can look at the comments, so.
I wish we did. No, I wish we did.
Okay. Now, going back to the need for this cost study and the purpose of the cost study, I think we've discussed that, we understand it. Originally, there was a cost study for the second lake, exclusive of financing cost by Hanson Engineering roughly 16 years ago, or thereabouts. Is that correct?
Yeah, probably, yeah, around that time, yes.
And do you recall what their cost estimate was at that time?
It was about 75 million, I believe, so maybe somewhere around there, 75 to 80 million.
Okay. And then we got a revised study from Hanson Engineering in the last couple of years roughly.
Correct.
And what was that revised cost analysis, exclusive of financing cost?
About 110 million.
110 million. From what we know now, the purpose of this study that we're going to give to CMT is going to help us even come up with a more precise cost estimate for the second lake. Is that correct?
We're modifying the second lake to make it more sustainable, basically. You lower the elevation, put in best management practices such as in-lake dams, sedimentation basins, wetlands, to reduce the sediment getting into the lake by over 50%. That's the goal. What we're pricing is what impact do those changes have on the cost of the new design. That would be the cost of the BMPs, the reduced cost of the dam, and so other costs.
But the reason, real quick, the reason for the redesign is for the phosphorus levels. And so I want to interject here because I think this is a real important statement to make.
That's fine, Mayor, but.
No, really,
I've
it
got a
goes to
series
the
of
heart of
questions
what
I'm
we
trying to
had
get
the
through, and
public
maybe
forum.
you
We
can
had the
interrupt
public.
the flow of my questions, Mayor.
We had,
possibly.
just real quick, we had a public forum about environmental protection. CWLP gets criticized all the time for not doing enough. We could go with the original Hunter Lake design, and the federal government, the way it looks, might approve it, but we're doing our environmental standards that we would like to adhere to, and that's why we're doing the redesign for the phosphorus levels to improve those, and that's why we're going through this process. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I'm a yes vote on this ordinance.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
And I'm going to yes vote on each aspect of funding AMAC. So it's not a question whether I'm for or against this study. I'm just trying to make sure that the information is out there and that we understand what's happening. And it's important for this council to get all the information we can about what's going on. So I'll just jump, then, since we're talking about phosphorus, you brought it up. There was a report that this council paid for recently in the last year that looked at the phosphorus levels in our existing Lake One and best practice management techniques to control the amount of phosphorus coming into Lake One. And I've got a copy of that report, and I've studied it. And the cost to properly manage phosphorus and some of the other farm chemicals going into Lake One, to catch up on deferred maintenance, the report says $140 million. Now, that's a need there for Lake One right now. Do you agree or disagree with that report that we got regarding the need to control phosphorus in Lake One?
It's not an immediate need, it's a long-term need, yes. I agree with that. It's a long-term need that we need to peck away at it year after year, and that's what we've been doing.
The report is dated Lake Springfield Watershed. What is really going on in this watershed by Jeff Beckler of North Water Consulting. And so this city council paid for that report, and we're glad to have it. And so are you working on a timeline for implementing the recommendations of this report regarding Lake One and the cost breakout for implementing the recommendations of this report, which included dredging portions of Lake One in the most cost-effective places of Lake One?
Right, yeah, yes, we are. With the Segment Soil Water Conservation District, the Lake Springfield Watershed Resource Planning Committee, we are working on that. Our goal is to minimize what's coming in prior to dredging, because if we get rains like we had this weekend, most of that sediment's gonna come back in. So we need to work on getting the bare black dirt gone, putting cover crops in, grass filter strips, sedimentation basins, so that doesn't happen. The 2 rains in the 80s after we dredged put about 30% of the silt back in after 2 rains. We don't want to do that again. We want to try to minimize what's coming in and then attack what's in the lake.
So this study we're going to approve tonight is really important to get a handle on what we need to do for any potential Lake 2 to avoid a buildup of sediment in Lake 2 and to analyze the cost and so forth. I'm going to just shift now partly you mentioned that Corps of Engineers got the demand analysis and the water usage analysis with it right now, and
The purpose and need and
the purpose
basis
and
for
need.
water need, yes.
And the Corps has eliminated some of the alternatives that were recommended by members of the public and others as far as alternatives to Lake One. And at the Beach House meeting a week or 2 ago, one of the members of the public asked a question having to do with one of those alternatives to Lake 2. And that alternative was a concept which we're using now since the drought of 1950s, which right now we've got a dam on the South Fork, and it captures all that watershed from Horse Creek. And I've subsequently learned that watershed that we capture with that dam is 2 or 3 times the watershed of the streams feeding into Lake One. So it was a very expanded watershed when we put that dam on Horse Creek there on the South Fork. And then when we need to, we pump all that water into Lake One. Now, there's been a similar concept put forward that in an emergency drought that we might have once every 100 years, we have an emergency dam up near Riverton where the South Fork meets the Sangamon River, and let that water back up, and we pump it from the same pumping location where we now pump. And at the Beach House, about roughly a week ago, when one of our members of the public asked about that option, the answer was given that that option's been eliminated. Even though in the past, the city did have emergency permits granted to handle an emergency drought in that manner. And so my question is, do you have information why AMAC eliminated that option, And where would we find that in the documents? We just want to analyze why certain options have been eliminated and understand the rationale behind the elimination.
I'm not sure if that report has been, submitted to us just yet, that portion of that report. And the problem with the emergency dam on the Sangamon River, it's exactly that, an emergency dam. We had a permit with EPA and the Corps of Engineers. Those permits have expired. We went to the EPA prior to it expiring with them and said, how do we get this going? And they were, well, Decatur sewage, the only water flowing down the Sangamon River during a drought, because normally it's everything from Fisher, Monticello to Decatur, flowing in. Decatur stops at their dam. So their lake's stopping any flow coming out. So all we get is the downstream of Decatur's, which is 80% Decatur sewage effluent, which has a phosphorus coming out of about 10 parts per, the standard is 0.05 in Lake Springfield. We cannot pump that water into Lake Springfield. The EPA will not allow it. It would be, they told us, it would be harder to get a permit for that than a new lake.
Well, you gave kind of a similar answer at the beach house a week ago, and there are streams running into the Sangamon River between Decatur and Springfield.
Point of order,
And
what's this
so-
have to do with this ordinance, Joe? We're getting on different tracks as far as, how's this have to do with this study? Because we're getting on what we had in the past. Let's get back to this study that we're gonna vote on.
Well, there's a lot of purposes to these questions, but it all pertains to Lake 2, Ralph. And
But we're
I'm just
talking
about
about the
done. I
ordinance.
asked, 10 minutes. I've asked, I prepared Doug and Ted for these questions, and I even talked with you ahead of this meeting, Ralph, and I said, Ralph, I'm gonna spend a little time talking about some issues related to Lake 2.
I thought
if
you
have a
said this
problem-
ordinance in particular.
Well, this all pertains to this ordinance, really, because this ordinance is part of a big, larger picture of what's happening with our analysis of whether we go forward with Lake 2 or not. And I'm just about done, Ralph, I really am. I just wanted to cover these main points, and I appreciate Ted and Doug. And so, Tim, if you've kept any notes of items we've asked for, appreciate it. And Mayor, thanks
Go ahead.
for allowing this discussion to take place.
Mayor, was that it? Alderman Hanauer?
I do have a question, and I don't know, what's the from corporate counsel, as far as getting draft documents out, is that, I know in other places I've worked, it's a draft, you don't publish them. And I would hate to get something out there that could leak to somebody that is a draft. And unless it's ready to go, we shouldn't be, I just don't know that we should have access to that. I would like to ask corporate counsel their position on that. And
on a normal situation, draft documents are not subject to things like FOI for some of the reasons Alderman Ritchie referenced. I think that if there is a desire for more complete information or interim information, I would recommend if a member of the council wants to do that, they simply go and meet with the staff and have one-on-one meetings or have them brief them on the detail of whatever that information is. We should not be circulating, I don't think, things that are interim drafts in the event that that might be confused with what a final draft might be. We're not required to make those public for a lot of different reasons because they might contain, like under FOI, they might contain things like either recommendations or different things like that, and there's no thought to try to inhibit, that process. But I would say that if there's interim information that any member of the council, any elected official of the council would like to get, then my suggestion would be, recommendation would be they meet with, for example, Ted or with Doug, and let them brief you specifically on maybe the interim findings or things like that, recognizing it's not final. And what Ted has mentioned is so critical in this. Remember, we're kind of in a strange position where the city is paying for the experts, but they actually work for the Corps of Engineers. The Corps of Engineers supervises them, reviews them, critiques them, will take a report, write it up, or send it back saying redo it. You see what I mean? So we're actually paying for them, but they're actually doing the work for the Corps, for the federal government. So, but hopefully if there's some, interim information that is useful from a legislative point of view, just from planning budgets or things like that, then certainly that question, could certainly properly be asked of the staff or meet with them and have them go through and walk you what the preliminary steps are.
Okay, because like I said, I always thought draft was drafted, it wasn't it was more staff related, so.
Well, go ahead, John.
Alderman Fulgenzi?
I just wanted to know, at what point does the DNR take over the planning and process of this, like after we get it done or while it's being done, or?
During the construction phase, they will add input. Once we get a permit, they'll start adding input, but once we, build it, they would take over, and we'd have to have some agreement for that.
So build it and they will come.
True.
Okay.
And I think the plan, I'm sorry, I was going to simply add to the question is that actually there will be a management agreement with IDNR that actually come to the council. So at that point, only after a lake is approved would there then be basically a management agreement, and IDNR has similar agreements of other lakes, that will come back to the council for review and approval. The terms of it, operating standards, things of that nature.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Mayor, thanks. There's a great deal of interest in this process of moving towards a second lake, and there's lots of division of opinion out there about this. And the previous council, 2.5 years ago, voted 4-6 against proceeding with Lake 2. There was a 4-6 vote. And so there's a lot of division of opinion out there, and so we want to make sure that this is an above-board process with lots of information so that we can make a wise decision. And this study that we're doing right now, it wasn't anticipated 2 years ago when Hanson did their latest cost analysis, because if they had anticipated this, they would have done it. So this is a new situation. It deserves discussion. This phosphorus content in lakes is very important. When you get too much phosphorus, you get algae bloom, which is toxic, and it would force the water district to pass out bottles of water to everybody. And we've got to watch this phosphorus content. It's something we've got to take seriously. And so the fact that we might proceed with Lake 2 when we've got a deferred maintenance on Lake 1, that raises a lot of questions in my mind. But that's for a later vote down the line, whether we go forward with Lake 2. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Redpath?
I want to commend the CWLP for undertaking this, because the reduction of the phosphorus levels is obviously a very top priority for everybody, and that this is going to really help us a lot. The reduction of the lake by 18%, is that what it's going to be?
Approximately.
15. Is that capacity going to be enough for what we need to serve our Lake 1? It's a backup, so it's going to be okay. And will the crappie levels be up any better than they are in Lake 1? That's all.
That's why we're getting IDNR to be involved.
I have a question on the design. Will digging deeper improve the phosphorus standards?
When we do this, when they build the dams, the dam and the in-lake dams, they'll probably have to dig around them to get to solid ground. The deeper, the less the phosphorus, the sediment gets stirred up during boating traffic. But near the dam, the main dam, it's going to be pretty deep, so that's not going to be a real issue there. But we just need to keep it out of the main
But if we
line.
dug Lake 2 deeper, if we get the permit, then that would improve the standard.
Correct. Digging's expensive. Right.
So that's the balance of looking at all the
Right.
BMPs and the costs and everything. That's really the process of this.
And the original lake design was long and meandering.
Yes.
So in a drought situation, the potential for drying up those fingers of the lake.
Correct.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair will entertain a motion for an ominous vote for agenda number 2017-200 through 2000.
We got to vote on this one first.
Oh, I was running right through it. Any other discussion?
No.
All those in favor of the ordinance, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. Voting is now open.
Alderman Thailand, how do you vote? Aye. Thank you.
The ordinance passes, 10 voting yes, none voting no. Chair will entertain a motion for anonymous vote for agenda number 2017-200 through 2017-211.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Ordinance 2017-200, an ordinance approving the reappointment of Heather Dunn to the Police Community Review Commission. 2017-201, an ordinance approving the appointment of Jasmine L. Woolfolk to the Police Community Review Commission. 2017-202, an ordinance approving the appointment of Benjamin Schwarm to the Police Community Review Commission. 2017-203, an ordinance approving the appointment of Kelvin D. Coburn to the Police Community Review Commission. 2017-204, an ordinance approving the appointment of Sister Linda Hayes to the Police Community Review Commission. 2017-205, an ordinance approving the appointment of Frank W. McNeil to the Commission of International Visitors. 2017-206, an ordinance approving the appointment of Lorna Simon to the City of Springfield Retired Employees Advisory Commission. 2017-207, an ordinance approving the appointment of Joseph Davis to the City of Springfield Retired Employees Advisory Commission. 2017-208, an ordinance approving the appointment of Mark Hemp to the City of Springfield Retired Employees Advisory Commission. 2017-209, an ordinance approving the appointment of Gloria Hayes to the City of Springfield Retired Employee Advisory Commission. 2017-210, an ordinance approving the appointment of Dina Barnett to the City of Springfield Retired Employees Advisory Commission. And 2017-211, an ordinance approving the appointment of William Washington to the City of Springfield Retired Employee Advisory Commission. Is there a motion?
So moved to.
Second.
Been moved to approve and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, but out of respect for those people that stayed around, if any of them would like to stand up and be recognized, can we do that at this time?
Sure. If you'd like to come up, state your name, or just stand up.
Joe Davis, you don't get a choice. We're asking you to. But I think Mayor would have asked
Yeah, come up and introduce yourself if you would. If you want to say anything. William, if you'd like to start. You don't want to come up? Everybody's shy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Come on, Frank, get up.
William Washington. I look forward to providing my service to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
For your consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Heather Dunn, and I am being reappointed to the Police Community Review Board, and I look forward to continuing on this committee.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Joe Davis, it's a pleasure to bring you back here again. Yes. Appreciate the advice from the council and Mr. Mayor. Anything you ever need, please call.
Great.
Mr. Don.
Mr. Davis, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you
I spent
He's not quite
the
tainted.
majority of my adult life in this room. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Now, I want to know what this guy knows about international relations.
Not a thing. I'm just showing up because the mayor asked me to. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. It's good to be back here. Joe, you make me realize it's a good thing I'm not here anymore.
Because you'd have to work so hard, Frank.
And I appreciate the mayor appointing me to the International Visitors Commission, and I look forward to working with the city and the council. I think Springfield is a place that should bring in more international visitors, and I hope to help the visitors community do that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mark Hemp. I've been appointed to the Retirees Commission, and I'm very glad to see that the hindsight of the council to do this. I think this is going to be very beneficial for the city and retirees, and I thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Mayor, members of the council, my name is Ben Schwarm, and I have been appointed to the Police Review Commission. And some of you, we have met in the past, some of you have not, but thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
is Gloria Hayes, and I've been appointed to the Retiree Insurance Committee, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to do so. And that's really about all I have to say. Unless anyone has any questions. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Jasmine Woolfolk, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve the community.
Thank you, Jasmine.
They save the best for last. I'm Sister Linda Hayes. I'm being appointed to the Community Review Police Commission. I look forward to the experience.
Thank you.
Sister, you don't know what you just said, because this is the last one right here.
You see the smile on his face?
Well, here's the best for last.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Kelvin Coburn, and I'd like to thank you. I'm appointed to the Police Community Review Commission, and I look forward to working with the city. And thank you again for your appointment.
Thank you. Alderman Redpath?
I want to commend you for putting together the Retirees and Employees Advisory Commission. That's very helpful, as we found out when we were in negotiations earlier this year. So now they have a voice and can tell us what they're thinking, and we can make things a lot easier for us here at the City Council.
And Alderman Turner was crucial in making that happen, so thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion vote yes. Those opposed vote no. The voting is now open.
Alderman Tylen, how do you vote? Aye. Thank you.
And the confirmation's passed, 10 voting yes, none voting no. Chair will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and place on first reading agenda number 2017-254, an ordinance authorizing execution of an agreement with 521 East LLC for use of central area tax increment finance funds for an amount not to exceed $120,000 for acquisition of the property located at 521 East Washington Street. Been moved? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Question,
Yes, sir.
shouldn't some of these go before the Economic Development Council Committee first before we get these and make any discussion on it?
Director Davis, I think they're meeting Tuesday, I believe, next week.
Yes, the next Economic Development Commission meeting will be on Tuesday.
Are these going to go before them, the 254, 255, and 258, I think it is, 259?
Yes, they will.
Okay, thank you.
Chair will entertain a motion, or did we take a vote on that?
Yeah, you would.
All in favor, say aye.
And this
Opposed,
is-
say nay.
And that's just to add it to the agenda is all
Right.
that's happening.
Okay, thank you.
Chair will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and place on first reading agenda number 2017-255, an ordinance authorizing execution of addendum E 2A redevelopment agreement with Children's Museum Foundation Corporation to extend the completion date of the project to July 1st, 2018, and authorize additional central area tax increment finance funds in the amount of $130,000 for a total amount not to exceed $1,121,545 for a property acquisition and rehabilitation.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Just a point to note, the bank did come forward with a upping their amount that they were going to loan the Kidseum, so that's where the additional amount would be as a match for them. But that, again, will go before the Economic Development Commission and discuss prior to the committee as a whole. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and place on first reading agenda number 2017-256, an ordinance amending Chapter 153, Section 153.106 of the 1988 City of Springfield Code of Ordinances as amended pertaining to definitions of large-scale developments.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and place on first reading agenda number 2017-257, an ordinance authorizing a 3-year extension of an integrated supply agreement between Motor Parts and Equipment Corporation doing business as Napa Auto Parts, Napa, and the City of Springfield, Illinois, for an amount not to exceed $4,994,000 from March 1st, 2017 through April 30th, 2020 for the Office of Budget and Management. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and place on first reading agenda number 2017-258, an ordinance authorizing the City of Springfield to annually return $1,400,000 of central area downtown tax increment finance funds, beginning with funds accrued in 2017 and payable in 2018 to Sangamon County for disbursement to other taxing bodies beginning in calendar year 2018 and continuing until the funds accrued in 2028 and payable in 2029 are dispersed in calendar year 2029 for a total amount not to exceed $16,800,000 for the Office of Planning and Economic Development. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. And just clarification real quick, that is the agreed upon amount for the taxing bodies with the extension of the downtown TIF.
The discussion with the taxing bodies was that they approved and supported the extension if the city continued the policy of dispersing annually during the 12-year extension like we've done in the past. So that's what this is to do, so that can be done June or July once the next tax cycle goes through.
Alderman Senor?
So we're just making an annual date that we're going to do the disbursements, is that correct?
The city in the past has dispersed $700,000 a year during the first extension. This is part of the agreement when it was extended for the second time to double that amount from $700,000 a year up to $1.4 million.
Is that done at a certain date each year? It's like
Oh, I'm sorry.
September of each year,
It is
October of each
actually, I
year?
believe at the time, it would be after the time the real estate taxes are collected.
Okay.
So it's when the money becomes available into the TIF, then it would be dispersed.
So,
Director Davis will answer that.
so we're doubling the amount each year, is that correct? Plus, and making it a standard to last throughout the rest of the extension of the TIF district?
That is correct.
Agreed. Thank you.
We typically receive the increment in June and in October. And so we'll disperse out to the taxing bodies when we've accumulated that dollar amount that we consider.
Thank you.
Alderman Turner?
So is this TIF being treated differently than the others? Because it was my understanding that with the Fiat Alice area TIF, that money was dispersed at the end.
Well, the money on the Fiat Alice TIF, that money was dispersed because they didn't have any additional
Right, but that was
projects
what was left
at the end.
Right.
In the downtown TIF, when the TIF was initially established, then the first renewal, there was an agreement made with all of the taxing bodies to agree with that renewal for the $700,000. And so now that we've renewed it again, this is that.
Right, no, I understand that part. I just wanted to make sure that that I wasn't mistaken, that it was an agreement that was entered into that was specific to this TIF that was not included in the others. That was my, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lump sum payout with the.
Right, with the
yep.
others, it was a lump
Right.
sum, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any
Just wanted
other
to make sure I
discussion?
wasn't crazy.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and place on first reading agenda number 2017-259, an ordinance authorizing the City of Springfield to return an additional $700,000 of central area downtown tax increment finance funds accrued in 2016 and payable in 2017 to Sangamon County for disbursement to other taxing bodies in calendar year 2017 for the Office of Planning and Economic Development.
So moved.
Second.
And seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Is this a catch-up amount, $700,000?
Mayor, would you like me to?
Sure.
The original agreement with the taxing bodies on the first extension provided for $8.4 million to be paid over a period of 12 years. There's actually a 1-year gap, so we're adding to the $8.4 million up to $9.1 for this year. Then in the next 12 years, or that second extension, then it goes up to 1.4.
Okay, thank
This is so there's not a gap in payments.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Is there any unfinished business to come before the city council? I do have one item. I did give the state of the city, and I know some aldermen were here, but I'll go ahead and pass this out. This was the handout that we distributed to everybody, and it's thanks to the good work of the council and the departments. It shows the where we were when we came into office, what was accomplished throughout the last year, and where we're going in the years ahead. So, you know, it highlights like road improvements, over 300 miles of roads, and sidewalks, things of that nature. So you can put that in your file. What's that? Is that on the web page? It will be. Is there any new business come before City Council? Alderman McMillan?
This is really old business. Chief Winslow, can you come forward? This is, Chief, this is to ask for an update regarding downtown patrolling particularly during the evening hours. I just want to describe a situation last week. It was my wife's birthday, and so we decided to dine downtown. And we walked downtown for a couple, for maybe 15 minutes before we went into a restaurant. This was during daylight hours. And twice we were approached aggressively by panhandlers. I think one looked like he was intoxicated. And then this individual followed us for a while and talked to us. And of course, we were having a birthday party. You don't want to get into it. I don't want to try to get a police officer to arrest someone right then and there, because we're trying to have a celebration. But my question is, have we employed any undercover officers because then I saw the same individual later on, an hour and a half later, and it looked like two foreigners walking on 6th Street, a husband and wife, and he was shouting at them and approaching them. And I just thought, wow, this is just terrible for our downtown. Mm-hmm. This is the type of incident that people talk about. They leave our town, they talk about it. And so we've really got to focus on this. I know, Chief, you're putting a walker, a police officer walking the beat, and I hope we're still doing that. And we ought to think about an undercover situation and really, sweep these people up that are violating the aggressive panhandling rule that we've got.
We haven't done any undercover stings since the lawsuit was filed on the advice of City Legal. I'll talk to City Legal after we leave here and see if that has changed, if that opportunity can arise where we can do that again. We'll discuss that in depth, and if that's something we can look at doing, then we'll take some appropriate actions after that. But we have not done any since the lawsuit was filed.
And maybe you could even dress up some officers that make them look like tourists, and really build a strong case. I mean, you
go undercover, Chief.
We will be very effective if we're allowed to do that.
And then we got to find a way that when we got repeat offenders, we're going to have to find some way legally to make it hurt and make sure these folks do not come back and destroy the image of our downtown. We got to find a way to make it hurt. And I hope we can, it's got to be legal, it's got to be fair, due process, equal protection, everything like that. But we got to find a way.
We'll be considering legal and see what kind of strategies we can employ and as we move forward.
I know it's a tough challenge, Chief. So
Hey, Chief, maybe you get Joe dress up for you.
I served overseas. I put on a uniform and everything, Chuck. But if you do it, I'll do it.
Oh, that would be good.
Undercover work.
Any other new business? We did have a person signed up to speak, James Kiefer. If you'd state your name and address for the council, we'd appreciate it.
James Kiefer, 32 North Lincoln is where I live. Bringing to your attention, I'm a mowing contract for the city of Springfield. I signed a contract this year with the city of Springfield to mow for the city of Springfield, and was refused because after I turned my contract in and everything was going through the process where it was supposed to go through, they then came up with a policy stating that 2 contractors cannot live in one household. Nowhere in that contract does it state not 2 contractors can sit in that household and mow for the city of Springfield. So I'm just trying to loop my mind around here to find out where I need to go with this. I've been talking to Jim about it. Jim's been addressing legal about it, and I don't know if I need, I was trying to see where legal was on it. I don't know who I need to speak with, or.
So can they be grandfathered in, or how, for this year?
We will, did you end up hiring an attorney?
No, I haven't hired no attorney. He is my attorney, but I just went to him because he knew Jim, so that's why.
Okay, yeah, I was not clear because Alderman Donald had said he'd gotten a call from an attorney saying he represented you.
Mm-hmm.
So we are looking into that, and so I would say probably in the next couple of days.
Okay.
Actually, Alderman Donald asked us to do that. We've met talked with Public Works, gotten all the documents, so we are looking into it.
Okay. That'd be good, that's all.
So hopefully we'll know by the end of the week.
Yep.
Alderman Turner?
Let me just say, this is a new process that was put in place prior to the contracts going out. It's one that the office had been working on for over a year to put in place. I talked with them, with Public Works, while they were looking to establish the process, and I thought then, and I think now, that it is a very, very good process, because the way that the process works is that contractors have a specific addresses that they mow on a consistent basis throughout the entire season. Before it was, they were on a list, and it's like, you go here, you go there, and there was always a lot of confusion, especially if someone had a complaint about one of the yards, or if someone was calling in saying their yards needed to be mowed. So the new process is a good one. The second thing that was put in place in that process was that the no more than 2 people in a household being able to have a contract. And I think that was a beneficial addition, because the system that was in place before was probably not meant to be, but it ended up being a very unfair system, because what you had was 4 and 5 contracts being let out of one household. It was, because I think in your situation, does your girlfriend or your wife has a contract?
My fiance, yeah, she has
your fiance has a contract, and then does her father has a contract,
yes.
And then does her mother have a contract? So it's just the 3 of you guys that have.
Yeah, we're all under separate households.
But at one time you were in one household.
Yes.
Okay.
No, we were never in one household.
Okay, so you and your fiance were never in one household?
Yeah, we've been living in the fiance.
Okay.
But
so
not the father-in-law.
Okay, so what was happening was there were cases where there were 4 and 5, and I saw cases of 6 contracts being let out of one household. So what that did was that created a very, what I thought, an unfair playing field for others that were interested in taking advantage of those contracts. And the reason why I guess I'm so passionate about this process and have been so involved with it is because most of those lots, excuse me, that need to be mowed and maintained are located within wards 2 and 3. And the way that process is set up now is that it provides a greater opportunity for those individuals who live within the city of Springfield to take advantage of the contract. It also gives a greater opportunity for those individuals that meet the criteria that live within those wards to take advantage of the process. And it also lends to a better overall seasonal outcome, because the lots are maintained in a faster manner. It's not like, because I drive by them all the time, and I was always calling in saying, can you send someone out? This looks really bad. It's not gonna happen anymore, because Doris Turner, I have a contract. I have these 10 addresses and I know that I need these to maintain these 10 lots. So I guess I just want to defend the process and give everybody an opportunity to understand the process better. And so it's not meant to be exclusionatory, or it's not meant to create a situation where people are not allowed to take advantage of the process. But it is a new process. It's not one that was put in place after contracts were signed. It was put in place a long time before the contracts were even, before they were even let. So it's not a new process. It's one that was put in place prior to the contracts were signed, and I think we'll have a much better overall outcome for not only the people who live in those areas, but the contractors that are going to be working in those areas, and an overall better outcome for the entire city.
Any other questions or discussion? Alderman McMiniman?
Well, I agree entirely with what Alderman Turner is saying, that we just want to spread the work out among many contractors, and we want to avoid the situation where one household isn't getting more than their fair share, and so when contracts from the same household come to Public Works, there's almost a duty to look into that and make sure that the rules aren't being violated. And then I think that's what is happening right now, that our city attorney and our Public Works director are just checking to make sure that we've got a consistent approach, and that if they are separate contractors, they truly are separate contractors.
Well, the process is, we are two separate contractors, two different contractors.
And I don't have to debate it, I'm just stating what the purpose is, and I'm not having a dialogue with you, sir.
I understand.
Okay.
Well, what it is last year I ran underneath the 23 Lilac Lane. This year, they're not mailing checks out this year, so I changed it to 332 North Lincoln, because 23 Lilac Lane is my business address. I run my business out of there. 332 North Lincoln is my residence where I live. So basically, it's two different addresses. I have a business address and a residential address. Well, I put it to the residential address because I wanted my check going to the residential address, not the business address. So that's why this is a little bit of confusion. I basically wanted to change it back to the 23 Lilac Lane, and they told me, no, you can't do that because I already put down 332 North Lincoln. I'm just trying to change it back. Also, if that's the problem, then I need to change it back to 23 Lilac Lane, where my business is established at. And that's where I come back and say, basically.
Alderman Sino?
Didn't we have Director Mahoney stand up and?
Yeah, we're still, we're going to research the information, so I think that's still in process. The Corporation Council doesn't have all the information needed to make a decision, so we'll have one done by Friday.
I mean, we're getting into some deep waters here, because everyone that has a conflict wants to come and if they didn't follow the rules, or if the rules were in place and somehow it circumvented them, or they were kicked out because of the rules, I don't think that's our place. That's why we have the purchasing agent that vets these contracts. So I think we should let the process take care of itself.
Yeah, Corporation Council will take a look at it and make sure that the rules were followed accordingly. Alderman Turner?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, and I also don't want to get into a situation where we set up a dynamic that circumvents the process and the rules that were put in place. Because if we're saying that there's only one contract per household, there's one contract per household. It doesn't matter what the relationship is of that household. It's one contract per household. So I don't want to get into a situation where we're setting up, like I said, a dynamic that's going to circumvent those rules, and because the rules and the process are in place for a reason.
But what Corporation Council needs to make sure of is that the rules were set out initially accordingly to one contractor per household, and that's what we need to verify before we kick out contractors. I think that's what we need to take a look at.
Just very briefly, what Alderman McMiniman indicated is correct. What I need to do, or what we're trying to do, is make sure that there is actually written rules. So we just requested a copy of how the RFP was requested, and also what the policies were when they were evaluating them. So that's what's being looked at. It's very straightforward. My concern is that when we, and again, globally, the rules need to be written down, they need to be understood and uniformly applied. And so that's basically the nature of what the inquiry is, in terms of making sure that we have something that was written and then how we applied it.
Alderman Donlin?
Yeah, I just want to add some clarification. Jim, you came to me and said that you had contacted the Department of Public Works, the
Yes,
mayor's
sir.
office, and some others, and you had this issue, and I agree with Alderman Turner. If the rules were set up that way, then that seems to make logical sense. But I appreciate Corporation Counsel, you bringing some finality to it, and as far as how the process was outlined for the potential vendors, and if it was outlined correctly, then we may not be able to help you. We may have to do something differently in the future, so thank you.
Okay, well, it wasn't mentioned in the mandatory meeting, so and it's not in the packet that we had signed, so that's why I'm bringing it to your guys' attention, because I'm being kicked off of it due to a policy being made after the fact it was already turned in, and it's not in the packet that we signed, and it wasn't mentioned at the mandatory meeting that we have to go to every year to be a mowing contractor or a board-up crew, so that's why.
Yeah, we'll have an answer by Friday.
All right,
So thank you.
thank you.
Anybody else wish to address the council? Yep. Please come up. And state your name and address if you so choose.
Where have you been? Where have you been?
I was sitting here,
You
minding my
haven't
own
talked to us in a
business.
while.
I mean,
Mayor's
you
getting
know,
lonely.
the mayor only gets to ball out once in a while, you know? I'm Alice Ramey, and I live in Ward 3. And I'm pretty upset with garbage men, okay? Waste management, you know? Every time they pick up the garbage at the house next to me and the house next down from me, I get the garbage in my yard. And I go out there and I pick it up, put it in my garbage can. Now, it seems like you guys can put a price on the weeds that they mow out, they blow out to the street. Why can't you put a price on the men that don't know how to pick up the garbage that they're supposed to pick up, get in the truck? It seems very simple. Bend over, pick it up, and put it in the truck where it belongs. I mean, I think it does belong there, it's garbage. There's another thing. I have a lot on Livingston that I mow, and I have people mow it, keep it nice. And I have to admit, Mahoney is one heck of a guy. He really is. And not because you're sitting there, it's because I would say it anyway, okay?
He's in charge of the waste haulers too. Just for the record.
But he's not right now. But that's not why I said that. He
Okay.
came out to look at some trees, which is, they really need to be cut. And not only that, it's a safety problem with the police and the kids and everything that play. And when somebody doesn't mow that grass at 1205 South Livingston, I get my nephew that loves driving the mower, and he cuts it because it's so high. So he saw it today, Mr. Mahoney. He saw the grass and he saw the trees. And we have a dead tree in that yard. And I'm not ready to climb trees yet. I'm a little bit young yet. I haven't learned. But I think if I had to climb that tree, I'd be cutting it down. Because for the simple fact, if I park my car over there, if I have a party and that limb falls off, Mr. City will be sued. Do you understand? It's dead.
Yeah, we'll have them take a look at
Mr.
it.
Mahoney knows about it, but I just wanted to make sure that people understand they've got to keep their yards up. And we also have garbage people that don't do their job, really. And when you have people come in your house that have a party or represent something and you want to look nice, then you have to get out there and do your yard and do the yard across the street, because these people that mow don't know how to mow, okay? Because it was this high, and now it was down to this high, and they didn't do anything by picking up anything out of the yard, and one of them hit the window of the house, but that's sloppy work, okay? And I just if I misunderstood Ms. Doris Turner, I'm sorry, but didn't she say that they have certain people assigned to certain areas to mow the lots? Is that right? Or did I misunderstand?
Not everybody's lot, though.
Not everybody.
Not every.
Well, I mean, I don't mean
yeah.
that. I mean, I thought that's what you said.
Not all vacant lots.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's complaint driven. So once it reaches a certain height, if we get a complaint,
Well,
Public Works will
I
go out and
didn't
view
call
it.
on this lot like I usually do. He got me on speed dial. I got him on speed dial, you know. But he did come out today, and he did do his job very well. I have another complaint, okay? I was coming down 9th Street, going to Sangamon. An ambulance was coming out, and I did not, I pulled over, but the guy in front of me didn't pull over, and the ambulance had to go around. And luckily, the light turned yellow and he could keep on going. But I was always taught to move over to the right side, or whatever side you're on, okay? And make room for them. Because when they move from just a half a second, that half a second can mean a heck of a lot to you, to your mother, or to anybody in this room, or anybody, their lives. And I think we need to have it said that if you don't move and move right to the right, what says in your book, the road book, then they need to be fined because they're not doing their job and they're not learning how to drive. Or they don't read it too well.
We'll do a PSA with regards to that. Put it
I
on the
think
cable
it's
access.
very important because it may be your life, your mother's life, or my life. And you know, mother's child is very important. Okay? Thank you. Have a
Thank you.
beautiful night.
Go home and cut your grass. That's what I'm gonna do. I have to.
I'd like to cut the grass.
Anybody else wish to
Motion for
address the
adjourn.
council? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We're adjourned. I gotta cut my grass. I've cut it in the dark before, especially since the ordinance didn't get passed. Oh my God. Don't you think? Yeah, I think so. What it's worth.